We have seen in the last few lectures balancing of rotating masses, and we have also solved some of the problems based upon the theoretical concepts what we discussed in the last lectures. And today we will start a new topic that is a balancing of reciprocating masses and their analysis. So first we will see how the analysis is going to be carried, and in the next lecture we will continue that the effect of partial balancing of reciprocating masses and a problem on locomotives. Okay, so let us first discuss what is balancing of reciprocating masses, okay, and how we can analyze this using the basic concepts what we have already learned. Okay, when I discussed the balancing concept very beginning, I said balancing of reciprocating parts as well as the rotating parts we can consider in an IC engine. Like you can see the reciprocating parts in an IC engine is a piston, and rotating part is a crank. So crank rotating part can be balanced by considering as a rotating mass, and whereas the piston is considered as a reciprocating part. Okay, so now let us take a case that is an IC engine, how the forces are going to be balanced. Okay, because the reciprocating mass which is a piston mass, and when you are going to give a acceleration to the piston, what type of unbalance that we get, okay, that part we will first discuss. So take a simple example, an engine, a horizontal working stroke engine, that is line of stroke is like this. And there is a piston which is reciprocating in the cylinder, and this piston is connected by a connecting rod, and there is a crank, and this crank is revolving with an angular velocity of omega, and the length of the crank is r. And this connecting rod, let us take a length of L, which is reciprocating. So when this piston is moving like to and fro like this, then the crank is revolving. The crank is revolving. Now let us see the piston is caused a motion by rotating this crank like this. The reverse process I am explaining. Actually what happens, the piston is subjected to forces and causes an angular velocity, but I am taking it in the reverse way. That is the crank is rotated. The crank is rotated. So when I rotate the crank, then it causes the movement of the connecting rod and the piston towards like this. Okay, so to provide this type of force, we need a force which is called Fr. So that is the force required to reciprocate to move the reciprocating parts. So this is against to the inertia force Fi. So Fi is the inertia force. Okay, Fr is the force required or force provided to accelerate the parts. So we have Fr, Fi. What is Fr? Fr is the force required to accelerate the reciprocating parts. Okay, that then what is this Fi? Fi is inertia force due to reciprocating parts. Due to reciprocating parts. Okay, this is the piston. So when the piston is moving like this, then there will be a normal force acting like this, Fn. So Fn is the normal force on cylinder, or if you take it as a steam engine like this, then it will be on the crosshead guides, Fn. Okay, so Fr, Fi, Fn are the forces required to accelerate the reciprocating parts. Fa is the inertia force due to reciprocating parts. Fn is the normal force on the cylinder or the crosshead guides. Okay, then what is here? The crank is here, then there will be a force acting on this crank, which is Fb. Fb. So Fb is the force on crankshaft bearing. So you can see this is the connecting rod and this is crank, and here the piston is connected to connecting rod to a piston pin here, and connecting rod and crank is connected here by another pin, crank pin, and here this is a crank. So there is a force acting on the crankshaft bearing. Here there is a bearing, that is Fb. Then here you can see the reciprocating mass needs some force to provide acceleration, that is Fr, and Fi is the force which is against to the applied force, that is the inertia force, Fi. Fn is the normal force perpendicular to the cylinder, that is the guideways or cylinder surface, and Fb is the force on the crankshaft bearing, isn't it? So we know that Fr is equal to Fi. Okay, that is this force. What is the force that is required to accelerate the reciprocating parts? How much force you require? It should be equal to inertia force. So then only it start moving. So if there is some amount of inertia force, if you overcome that force, then only that part will start moving. That's why Fr is equal to Fi, and it balances each other. And it balances each other. Then coming to the Fb, this Fb can be resolved in two components. One is horizontal component Fbh, and another one is a vertical component Fbv. So Fbv and Fbh is the components which are resolved horizontally and vertically. The crank is making an angle theta with the line of stroke. The crank is making an angle theta with the line of stroke. So Fbh, okay, Fbh is the unbalanced force which is called Fu, which is also equal to Fi, that is the inertia force. Then Fbv is equal to Fn, that is the normal force. Normal force, okay, normal force. So you can see Fn is equal to Fbv, which is equal, so it is balanced in this y plane, okay, and this in the x plane Fi is equated to Fr, then there is an unbalance is there. That unbalance is nothing but Fu, which is equal to Fi, which is nothing but unbalanced force at the bearing in the horizontal direction. Okay, suppose if I call this distance from the piston at this juncture, the location to the crank position is say x. If I call the distance between the piston center to the crank center x, then you can see it is balanced in y direction force point of view, but there is a couple, okay, which is unbalanced, that is FBV into x. So you can see here in the overall way we can tell one thing: the system is unbalanced for forces, that is in the x direction. This is the unbalanced force, and the system is unbalanced with the couple in the y direction, that is FBV into x. So our objective is to balance both these forces and couples by means of some methodology. Okay, so this is the unbalanced force and unbalanced couple that exists in this reciprocating parts, or in the case of either steam engine or an IC engine, where the piston is a reciprocating part. So this unbalanced force is a shaking force, and this unbalanced couple is a shaking couple. Okay, so my objective is to balance this unbalanced force as well as this couple. Okay, so let us see how to balance this. Okay, how to balance this. So we know that acceleration of reciprocating parts, which is already discussed in our KOM, that is acceleration of the piston is equal to omega square r into cos theta plus cos 2 theta by n. This equation is very much familiar with you. What are the terms here? Omega is the angular velocity, r is the radius of the crank, theta is the angle made by the crank with the line of stroke, and where n is equal to L by R, that is the ratio of length of the connecting rod to the radius of the crank. So we know that the acceleration of the reciprocating parts AP is omega square r into cos theta plus cos 2 theta by n, where omega is the angular velocity, r is the radius of the crank, theta is the angle made by the crank with the line of stroke, n is the ratio of the length of the connecting rod to the radius of the crank. Then we also know inertia force Fy is equal to m omega square r, that is the mass of the reciprocating parts. So we know F is equal to ma, that is force is equal to mass into acceleration. So what is the mass, reciprocating mass? M. And what is its acceleration? Just now we have written omega square r into cos theta plus cos 2 theta by n. Okay, so omega square r into cos theta plus cos 2 theta by n. So if you expand this, we can write that is Fy is equal to m omega square r cos theta plus 1 by n m omega square r cos 2 theta. So the inertia force which we have written here, which is unbalanced force Fu, is nothing but m omega square r cos theta plus 1 by n omega square m omega square r cos theta. So this first part is called primary unbalanced force, and The second one, this is called secondary unbalanced force. Primary unbalanced force and secondary unbalanced force. So you can see primary unbalanced force is m omega square cos theta and secondary unbalanced force is m omega square r cos 2 theta. So you can identify theta, cos theta can be maximum 1, it ranges from 0 to 1, and cos 2 theta is also ranges from 0 to 1. That means maximum primary unbalance, primary force may be m omega square r, and similar maximum secondary force is 1 by n m omega square r. So the maximum component can happen when this is 1, cos theta is 1 or cos 2 theta is 1. So the maximum primary unbalanced force is m omega square r and maximum secondary unbalanced force is 1 by n m omega square r. So what is n? N is nothing but L by r. We know L is always more greater than r. Then naturally L by r is a larger value. When L by r is a larger value, 1 by n is, so this is 1 by n. That means the secondary unbalanced force is much lesser than the maximum primary unbalanced force. So both are same, m omega square maximum. Okay, but secondary unbalanced force is multiplied by 1 by n. So we know n is equal to L by r and L is larger than r, then L by r is a larger value. So this is 1 by n into m omega square r is a smaller value when you compare with the primary value, that is the m omega square r. That's why some of the cases we neglect the secondary unbalanced force compared to the primary unbalanced force, and we balance only primary unbalanced force and we neglect the secondary unbalanced force. But when you require more precise calculation, then we consider both primary as well as the secondary. Okay, and this secondary unbalanced force is 1 by n omega square and primary unbalanced force is m omega square. They are balanced with the concept of similar rotating masses balancing concept only. So you have seen the unbalanced forces like primary unbalanced force, unbalanced force is m r omega square cos theta, and secondary unbalanced force is 1 by n m r omega square cos 2 theta. Okay, so these are the two components, one is primary and another one is secondary. So you can see here the primary unbalanced force becomes maximum when theta is equal to, that is cos theta is 1. When cos theta will become 1, cos theta 1, that is theta is equal to 0 or 180. Theta is equal to 0 or 180. So similar here, cos 2 theta is equal to 1. That is theta is equal to 0 or 90 degrees. Okay. So the maximum values will occur mr omega square, and this is 1 by n mr omega square. These are the maximum values. So the magnitude of primary unbalanced force and secondary unbalanced force is a function of theta. It is function of theta. That means the unbalanced force, so reciprocating masses unbalanced force, reciprocating masses unbalanced force, either primary or secondary unbalanced forces are function of theta. What is theta? Theta is the angle made by the crank. So whenever there is a change of angle of the crank, then there is a change of unbalanced forces in both primary and secondary. But magnitude varies, direction is constant. Direction is constant. And whereas in the rotating masses, in rotating masses unbalance, it is quite opposite, where magnitude constant and direction varies. That is the difference between reciprocating masses unbalance and rotating masses unbalance. In reciprocating masses unbalanced forces, magnitude varies, but direction is constant. Whereas in the rotating masses, magnitude is constant, but direction varies. Okay, so here we are going to discuss the balancing of reciprocating masses for primary forces as well as the secondary forces. As I said, secondary forces are compared to primary forces is a lesser value. Sometimes it is neglected and sometimes it will be considered. Okay, so let us see why we don't go for complete balancing, why we will go for partial balancing. So partial balancing of reciprocating unbalanced primary force. So partial balancing of unbalanced primary force. What is the need of balancing the reciprocating unbalance only partially, not completely? Let us see. When we discussed about very beginning of the lecture that in the balancing case, I said reciprocating masses balance also is made similar to rotating masses balancing with some consideration. What is that consideration? Why we don't go for complete balancing of primary unbalanced force? Let us see. So just now we have drawn a sketch, same sketch I am repeating it. This is the piston, connecting rod and crank L, R, and it makes an angle theta, which is revolving with an angular velocity of omega, isn't it? So what is the primary unbalanced force? What is the primary unbalanced force? mr omega square cos theta. mr omega square cos theta is the primary unbalanced force. Suppose if I consider this unbalance as created by introducing a mass at here. So what is this? mr omega square. What is this m? Actually this m is the mass of the reciprocating parts. Whereas here I am treating this, let me assume there is a mass at the end of the crank which is m with a radius of r, which is revolving with an angular velocity of omega. Then the centrifugal force produced is mr omega square. If I balance this directly by placing exactly opposite to that by a mass of b with a length of b, okay, so like exactly opposite. This is theta means this is also theta. Then here what you can see, because of the mass introduced here at a radius of b, there will be a force, centrifugal force, which develops b omega square b. This gives b omega square b. Let me assume there is a mass taken b, which is situated at a distance of b, and exactly kept it opposite side of that theta. If I try to balance it such a way that b omega square b is equal to mr omega square. If I see that complete balancing, if I go for complete balancing, okay, actually what is my unbalance? My unbalance is only mr omega square cos theta. My unbalance is only mr omega square cos theta, isn't it? So this unbalance mr omega square cos theta is primary unbalance. What I did, let me assume there is a mass at capital B with a radius of B is kept like this, and which gives me a component of centrifugal force of b omega square b, and if I equate it b omega square b to mr omega square, okay, then it is going to be balanced. But what is the problem with this? So actually you don't have a mass here. This m is a virtual. This m is a virtual. I treated if there is a mass at end of the crank m, which having the effect of centrifugal force of mr omega square, okay, and I have taken its horizontal component is an unbalance like mr omega square cos theta, and if I equate mr omega square is equal to b omega square b, then what is it? When this m omega square or cos theta is equal to b omega square b, then there will be an unbalance. There will be an unbalance that is in this direction, which is b omega square b sin theta. B omega square b sin theta. Why? This b produces a b omega square b, and this b omega square b is resolved like one component cos component like this and sine component like this, b omega square b cos theta and b omega square b sin theta. If I want to balance the system completely, what is my unbalance? My unbalance is mr omega square cos theta. My actual unbalance is mr omega square cos theta, which is going to be balanced by b omega square b cos theta. So cos theta get cancelled, omega square get cancelled, mr is equal to bb. mr is equal to bb. That means the unbalanced force along the x-axis is completely balanced. But what happened? Because of this, there is an unbalance created in a vertical direction, which is b omega square b sin theta. So unbalanced force in y direction has been converted as like a b omega square b sin theta. So we know sin theta maximum 1, then the maximum value will be b omega square b. So what happened? If you try to balance in horizontal direction, then in vertical direction there will be unbalance has been taken place, once again the same amount of mr omega square. So hence it is not advisable to balance the reciprocating masses completely. It is only possible balance the reciprocating masses partially such a way that instead of equating this mr into is equal to bb, we balance partially by an amount of c times of mr. we balance an amount of some part of the unbalance, that is C times of MR. What is this C? C is the percentage or fraction of unbalance. Percentage or fraction of unbalance, isn't it? So this is the reason behind why the reciprocating masses are only partially balanced and it is not balanced completely. The reason behind it is, if you try to balance in the horizontal direction completely, then that is fulfilled, but unnecessarily there will be unbalanced force is going to be generated in y direction, that is in the vertical plane, that is once again the same amount like b omega square b, so which is not advisable. That is why we will compromise such a way that instead of completely balancing, we will balance it partially, some part only, that is C times of MR is equal to BB. Okay, so now let us see what is the resultant unbalanced force. Resultant unbalanced force. What is the resultant unbalanced force? That happens because of the, that is happened because of the partial balancing. So here we have balanced partially, that is in the x direction, and we created partially unbalanced in the y direction. Then what is the net resultant unbalanced force that it develops because of the partial balancing, that we will proceed. So let us find out resultant, okay, resultant of unbalanced force in x direction and y direction. So resultant unbalanced force. So we have seen unbalanced force in horizontal direction is how to get it, what is the unbalanced force existing and how much it is balanced. The difference is the unbalanced force in horizontal direction. What is our unbalanced force? Our unbalanced force is mr omega square cos theta, and this is balanced, okay, partially like b omega square b cos theta. So we have seen just now that the component of b omega square b cos theta along the x-axis and along the y-axis, I said it is not completely balanced. So partially only balanced. That quantity is b omega square b cos theta. And what we have written b omega square b, so b omega square b we have written c times of mr omega square cos theta. Okay, so I can take mr omega square cos theta as a common into 1 minus c. So this is unbalanced force in horizontal direction. Then what is the unbalanced force in vertical direction? Unbalanced force in vertical direction. So you can see in the diagram, the unbalanced force in vertical direction is b omega square b sin theta. B omega square b sin theta. What is b omega square b? That is nothing but c times of mr omega square sin theta. So b omega square b is nothing but c times of mr. So this is c mr times of omega square sin theta. So the resultant is resultant unbalanced force at any instant is sum of square root of horizontal force and sum of vertical force. So horizontal and vertical forces. What is horizontal force? Unbalance, that is 1 minus C mr omega square cos theta whole square plus this is C mr omega square sin theta whole square. So if you take m omega square r common, that is outside, m r omega square into root over 1 minus c whole square cos square theta plus mr omega square is already taken out, then c square sin square theta. So this is the resultant unbalanced force at any instant. What is it? mr omega square into 1 minus c square cos theta plus c square sin square theta. Okay, this is unbalanced force resultant at any instant. And we have talked about the unbalanced primary force balancing due to reciprocating masses only. Suppose in case if unbalance is available both revolving and reciprocating, then in that case, so both revolving unbalance is there and reciprocating unbalance is there. How to balance it? So we have taken m is the unbalance due to the reciprocating, and I will take revolving unbalance is say m1. Then we will write the equation b into b is equal to m1 into r plus c times of mr. Earlier what we did, simply bb is taken as cmr. If you have only unbalance due to reciprocating masses and the mass is m, it is at radius of r, we balance it by writing bb is equal to cmr. Now what I am saying, unbalance is available due to revolving masses as well as the reciprocating mass. So reciprocating mass is m and revolving mass is m1. In that case, we will balance it equating like bb is equal to m1 into r plus c times of mr. So m1 is the revolving mass, m is the reciprocating mass, r is the radius, and c is the percentage of balance that which you will take care in the balancing part. Okay, that way we can take both revolving as well as the reciprocating masses balance by introducing a mass at a radius of b, small b, and the mass of capital B. In the next lecture, we will discuss the locomotives classification and the effects of partial balancing in locomotives. That we will see in the next lecture.